Hello everyone, welcome back to the Black and White Show here on Newcastle Fans TV. Well, it's been a couple of weeks since the Black and White Show. It's had its holiday, it's had its pre-season warm weather training camp, and we're back new with new training recruits on Newcastle Fans TV. It's a big welcome on his debut to the Black and White Show to Adam, who's from the Facebook team, who's kindly joined us tonight. Welcome to the show, Adam.
Yep, cheers, Johnny. Appreciate it.
No, not a problem at all. I've got Mr. Regular, Mr. Consistent, Samuel. How are you today, mate?
Good. I'm no longer the new guy, so it's nice to have Adam along.
Yeah, definitely. Get your questions, get your comments in with everything Newcastle United related. The first half is going to be a weekly news roundup of basically everything that's been going on with Newcastle United in the last 7 days. Got a lot to get through. Hendrick signing Matty Longstaff, getting a new 2-year deal. Just a 2-year deal, but just enough to keep the rumours away from any potential new club that might want him in the future. We've also got the game against Crewe on Tuesday to talk about. A couple of injuries and big injury talking points we also need to talk about later on the show. And in the second part, it is that striker conundrum. Because of Dwight Gale's injury, who would you like to see Newcastle buy in the summer to basically rest all your laurels of Newcastle staying up? Who would you pay? Around about £30 million is what Newcastle are probably looking for a striker. That is their budget for this season's transfer window because of COVID. Who would you like to see take on the mantle of scoring a few goals for Newcastle this season? Get your comments in if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook in particular, and we'll read the best ones out throughout the show. So a big welcome to both Adam and Sam. Let's start off with Matty Longstaff very quickly. 2-year deal last week, just Virgil last week, after a long, lengthy signature by the look of it. It just seems to be played out and playing out. Was Matty looking for maybe a potential takeover and then potentially talk about new transfers and new contracts, shall we say? But Adam, it's fantastic news, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a no-brainer for me. Bit surprised, just 2 years, to be honest. And surprised the seems to have split the fan base. I think there's still 50% of the fans don't think he's worth a new contract, but I think it's great he's going to get the chance to develop here a bit anyway.
Why do you think he's given just 2 years?
Well, no, Newcastle, you never know. They've just give him a year in the Premier League, play him every game, and then sell him on for more money than they could. But it's a funny one. Under Bruce, is he going to play 30, 38 games a season, or is he going to be behind the likes of Shelby Hayden? I don't think he's going to get a lot of game time, so I think it's for him as well. He's met us halfway, and he's, if I'm still not playing in a year's time, you can sell me for whatever you want.
Do you think a loan move is probably best for him, Sam?
It definitely should be considered, especially if we're going to be keeping hold of Barlaser as well. Thing is with Matty, and one of the reasons why it was dragging on for so long was his concerns over his development. Since Bentaleb was brought in January, it's completely undone all that great work that we saw from him ever since he burst on the scene against Manchester United. So it's one of them, really. I don't think a loan will be priority, although he might just be competing with Dan Barlaser for that last sort of midfield spot in the 25-man squad, because obviously Jeff Hendrick's now signed. I think we're looking at Sean being pushed up into a number 10 for this season, so that kind of frees up a little space in the centre of the park. So it's a possibility, a loan move, but I can't see it happening. But at the end of the day, the lad, he needs minutes on the pitch.
100% agree with that. Adam, where do you think his best position is in that midfield? Do you think he's more a defensive-minded player, attacking-minded player, or do you think he needs to be a bit more disciplined in the centre of midfield?
Yeah, he's got a lot to learn still. He's still very young, but I think if you look at the goals he has scored, if you remember the pre-season game last year, he came on against the German team, took a goal really well. The two Man U goals, he's the type of player who's going to burst into the box when he gets a chance and get you goals. He's certainly not one to sit in front of the back four. I think that's probably more Sean's job. But I agree with Sam that for me, he needs to be playing. If you stuck him in the Championship for a top 10 club, a Swansea, Cardiff, or Brentford, it'd be good to see how we doing that. And I think it'd certainly benefit us better than just sitting on the bench at Newcastle, because he's not going to develop if he's just sat on the bench. He needs to be playing week in, week out. And if that means getting him to the Championship for a year, so be it.
Do you also think, Sam, though, the fact that it's just a 2-year deal, that if, say, something was to happen upstairs and a takeover was to happen, just putting out there hypothetically, because we always get stories every single month now, it looks like, for this impending takeover that's never going to happen by the look of it. But say on the off chance it does happen in the next 12 months, is Matty in a very good position? Because he's only, again, 12 months left on his contract. If he does well again this season and say, I don't know, get say 15 games, 20 games in the Premier League and he's really shone, there'll be a lot of teams after him.
Yeah, this time next year we're all set for the exact same saga to play out once again when he's only got 1 year left this time next year. Possibly it brings him in line to how long Sean's got left on his current deal. So there's symmetries there between the two. It's obviously a big deal with them two playing together. It's obviously they get a kick out of it, a buzz out of it. Just look at that interview after Matty's debut against Man United. Absolutely amazing interview with the pair of them. Yeah, just to pick up on something Adam said, because I agreed with him, because I always thought that Sean was more of a Michael Carrick to sit in front of that back four, and that Matty looked better going forward. But it's interesting now that all we've heard lately is, oh, Sean's better as a number 10. Sean did fantastic in the number 10 against Bournemouth before he went off injured. So I don't think, because they're still young lads, I don't think Bruce knows. I don't think they even know what their best position is yet.
Adam, do you think Bruce trusts Matty Longstaff? We'll get Sam's thoughts in a clip very, very shortly. But do you think Steve Bruce actually trusts Matty to do a job for him now?
I did first half of the season, and then he brought Bentaleb in to seem to replace him, and then he just didn't seem to. Whether there's stuff going on behind the scenes or not, we'll never find that out. But I think Bruce maybe thinks he's a bit weak, a bit too lightweight for the Premier League at the minute. But so far from the second half of the season, I certainly don't think Bruce has much faith in him, unless there's something going on behind the scenes.
You'd love to be a fly in the wall at Newcastle United just for a day, never mind a week. I think you'll get about 25,000 stories all in one. But Sam, you did a reaction for Newcastle Fans TV throughout the week about Matty Longstaff signing a new 2-year deal. Do you want to play that clip whenever you're ready?
You're watching the Black and White Show with Newcastle Fans TV.
Obviously, it's been massive. Ultimately, he's the one who came in and gave us my start, and obviously he didn't have to do that, but I'm grateful for that. And obviously he's come out and said that he wanted to stay, and I'm delighted for that. And obviously now I've got to go and kind of prove why he wanted that. Obviously, like we've said before, it probably took a bit longer than we wanted, but ultimately I'm delighted that I'm going to be working with him and the coaching staff who I loved working with last year, and obviously I need to go and kind of repay them for wanting to keep me around.
It's not at Leeds, it's not at Udinese, it's not at Brighton, it's not at Watford, it's at Newcastle United. Who would have thought it after all of this time? He's gone and committed his long-term future to the club, finally. Finally, what a huge sigh of relief. One of the Academy's brightest prospects for many a year now. And we've got him. It didn't seem likely at all. It looked like his head had been turned and he was on his way. It wasn't really down to the money from what we've heard. It was about his development, which had stagnated from January. Nabil Bentaleb's move, which Steve Bruce today confirmed that it will not be made into a permanent, thankfully. So back to Schalke he goes.
Welcome back to the Black and White Show with Newcastle Fans TV.
Sam, I don't know what you were more happy about, whether Matty Longstaff signed a new 2-year deal or Nabil Bentaleb's going back to Schalke. But
it was the closest we'll come to #cans, that was. And I'd just like to point out, I'm fully aware I said long-term future in that. That was because I recorded that the night before that it was made official, and the rumours and the whispers was it was going to be a 4-year deal. So, yeah.
Yeah, your in the nose aren't very good, are they? Your ITKs are they? Not very good. But anyway, we'll leave that one for another day. Yeah, I think, look, Adam, it's fantastic news, as we've mentioned. Obviously, we're talking about the development of Matty. If he doesn't get enough game time, do you think even by January he might be considering, right, I need a loan move anywhere, even if it's just to get football, get minutes, and then maybe have the same conversation a year later from now, as Sam mentions before?
Yeah, 100%. As Sam mentioned before, we've just gone through months and months of getting him a deal, and 12 months down the line we could still be here again. You think if he has a worldy season, a great season, and proves he's invaluable, then we'll tie him down to a bigger deal. That's what you'd like to think. But if he's not playing regular Premier League football this season, he's going to want to leave. It's his ambition. He's going to want to, play Premier League games, win trophies. He's got the ability, but he just needs the time to show it, which hopefully he'll be able to get. But again, it's probably the most competitive place we've got in centre midfield. There's Shelby, there's Hayden, and there's Hendrick just come in. There's Sean Longstaff. It's going to be a tough midfield to get in there.
Very tough midfield, and you perfectly mentioned Jeff Hendrick there. Signed a 4-year deal. The 28-year-old from, well, I was going to say the Republic of Ireland, but he doesn't really have the best Irish accent, I should say. But I don't think Kieran Clark does either. So I'm sure you'll.
Does Paul Summit really sound Welsh as well? Come on, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you're from, does it, Sam? You can support Newcastle if you're from, I don't know, Staffordshire or something like that.
Exactly.
Any 29. Anyway, Jeff Hendrick has signed a 4-year deal. He had AC Milan, lovely Italy, very hot, sunny climate, but he's chosen the quayside. He's chosen Newcastle. Adam, why do you think he's chosen Newcastle?
Best league in the world, really. Wants to play Premier League football. He's played up here before. Obviously, the crowds impressed him. I think he scored the winning goal against us last season or the season before. Can't quite remember. But I think, he's the type of player I don't think would settle well in Serie A. So I certainly think it's a good move for us. I know he's getting a bit of stick on the socials. We've gone from getting Mbappe to getting Jeff Hendrick, but we've got to give the lad a break. He's going to want to come and play for the club. I think he's going to be very much similar to Isaac Hayden. As soon as he steps over that white line, he's going to give 100%, and he'll be that type of player. Yeah,
sure. And there's a comment just there. If you want to keep it on, Sam, I'll mention his name. He's one of the first comments that will get on the one on Facebook. Jeff Hendrick will be a good addition, says Daniel, for our mighty Tsunami that can do a good job strengthening on midfield and give us more options. I think the more options is probably the phrase that I'll take from that, Sam. Is he better than what we've got, or is just more competition in those sort of areas of midfield?
Is he better than what we've got? Probably not. Is it better than what we had? Absolutely. Is he better than Key? Yes. Is he better than Bentaleb? Absolutely, exactly he is. So it is an improvement. It's a shrewd little move because, as you say, AC Milan were interested, which you can go to Serie A in your mid-30s and you can eke out 3 or 4 more years there. They play so slow. So it's a good move. It's competition for places, which we have got in that middle of the park. It allows, as I said earlier, Sean to be experimented in that number 10 role and to add some depth in that area of the field. So down the middle, apart from up front, which is what we're going to focus on later, we're actually okay. It's just everywhere else.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where he's going to basically be put in that midfield. Is he going to be in the centre and fighting for places with the likes of John Joe Shelby and Isaac Hayden? That'll be interesting. Ryan says we've gone from possibly being the richest club in the UK to Jeff Hendrick. We're in for a long season, lads, and if not, relegation. I think hopefully we try and be a bit more positive, but I can definitely understand Ryan's concerns in regards to maybe Newcastle being involved in a relegation battle this season. At the minute, the bookies, I think most bookies have us about 5th favourites for the drop, or maybe 4th favourites with some bookies as well. So it's very, very tight for Newcastle if you're looking at the betting. Which betting company would you recommend, Sam?
The red one.
The red one. See if we can work it out. Adam, let's talk about his potential position that he could play. Do you see more as a centre midfielder? Do you see more of a right-hand side midfield? Because at Burnley, he did sometimes get put out on the right-hand side. Because Burnley did let Dwight McNeil kind of run free and run right on the left-hand side because of the potential he's got. And Jeff Hendrick was more, well, I'll be more, dedicated to defending maybe a little bit more on the right-hand side. And you didn't really get much out of him. But he can do a job there. Where do you see him personally?
I think he spoke out this week saying he's more suited to centre midfield. He must have had a conversation with Bruce to come up and say that. Knowing Bruce, if we're playing 3-5-2 or 5-3-2 as usually is, I've got no doubt he'll play him right full back, right wing back if he has to. But from what I've seen of him, don't get us wrong, I haven't seen a great deal, but he's strong position centre midfield. He gets up and down, engine. So yeah, I do think he'll possibly be starting games. I think Bruce has brought him in to start. Who that's for, we'll have to wait and see.
It is an interesting debate, though, Sam, because if Hendrick gets put on the right-hand side, is he better than, say, I don't know, was he better than a Lazaro that was in that position towards the back end of last season? Because you had Lazaro there, you had an ASM that was kind of being put on the right-hand side. I think ASM's better on the left, but that's just my personal opinion. Do you think he's been put in there as a centre midfielder just to kind of go, you know what, I want a little bit more experience in the centre of the park, who, let's be honest, has got a Premier League experience, is proven at 28, full international. It was a safe bet more than anything.
Yeah, it gives him options. I mean, to pick up on your point now, we don't know if he's better than Lazaro because we didn't see Lazaro anywhere near enough. So we'll never know. Versatility and giving your manager options is something you've got to do. It's an asset you've got to have nowadays. So him being able to play a couple of three positions allows players to have more freedom, and we're going to pick up injuries at some point, so it allows players to fill in here and there. He could fill in like Hayden did, right wing back, if that's the way he's going to go again, which I don't think he is. I think you'd like to think he'd start the season 4-2-3-1, which that can, as Gregory said there, you can push Sean in the number 10, but, you know, not necessarily pushing Miggy out of his favoured position, because the three behind the central striker, it's fluid. They can all play anywhere along that line. So it gives Bruce options and more ways for him to bugger it up, I suppose. But players like that, kind of like utility players, remember Percino, you could stick him anywhere in defence, anywhere in midfield, and he'd do a job. So
No, I love Percino.
You've got to have a couple of players like that in your squad.
Just picking up that point that Gregory says, though, Adam, and I have to disagree with Sam. I think Miggy is best at number 10, and I understand why Sam's argument about the fluidity between the three. But if you can keep Miggy central, that's where you get the most damage. I don't think he gives you as much damage right or left. And if Sean's going to be vying for that position as a number 10, if you've got the choice between them two right now, both on top form, who's going in as your number 10, Adam?
I think with Almiron, he's looked more dangerous, you know, when he's got someone up front. You know, this season we haven't had a consistent centre forward to assist him, to help him, you know, bring him into play when he's been playing number 10. He needs to score a lot more goals. You know, when Rondon was here this season, you know, when Almiron first came in, he just looked dangerous every time we were going forward. And last season it wasn't like that. He didn't really have. He had Gale in for a bit, then Andy Carroll every now and then. But I don't think Almiron's effective out wide. I think he needs to be playing in that number 10 role where he got all the goals. I know it was on the MLS, but he did score a lot of goals. He's going to be a big player there. If we're going to see it steal this season, Almiron has to have a brilliant season. Yeah,
for sure. Martin said that I'm a bit more positive, and I think Percy will be okay. I'm getting a mid-table finish. I like that, Martin, as well. Keep your comments coming in as well. I also, at this point, like to thank our sponsors, Beer 52. Adam is just sitting a fantastic can of Beer 52. He was just telling us before. What was it? The Siren you've gone with. Fantastic, isn't it?
Siren, Soundwave IPA.
There you go. And we've also like to thank our other sponsors, 3 Retro. So we want any classic football shirts. That I think Adam's got a classic shirt on, has he? Has he got one of the classic shirts?
I got it for my birthday last week.
Just walking out tonight.
95, 96, spectacular shirt. So 96, 97 as well. It was two back when you had a shirt for 2 seasons. And I'd also like to thank Amazon. Of course, they've got 20 live Premier League matches minimum. Next season, they'll have Leeds versus Newcastle, Ellen Road, and Newcastle versus Liverpool. So 2 big games on Amazon for the 2020-21 season. So make sure that you get Amazon in the future. We've also got the All or Nothing with Spurs as well coming out on Bank Holiday Monday. So I think anything with Jose Mourinho is going to be a very interesting watch. But going back onto Newcastle and back onto Jeff Hendrick, we do have a clip from Steve Bruce and Jeff Hendrick talking about his move to Tyneside from Lancashire. Sam, whenever you're ready.
You're watching the Black and White Show with Newcastle Fans TV.
Massive club. I'm playing over the years, going to the stadium. It's one of the best stadiums to play in, so I just want to get playing there. I've had over 100 games in the Premier League, but I want to keep going and keep improving with a different team. It's going to be different for me, the demands with a bigger stadium, the crowd, and how big the club is. So I've got to take that on and keep pushing myself and striving to get better. I'm looking forward to it. I cannot wait. As Steve Bruce said about Hendrick, Jeff is someone I've admired for a long time. I've watched him when he was at Derby. Then he went to Burnley for a lot of money and I couldn't afford him, so I missed out then. He's an experienced international footballer who can play across the midfield, so we'll welcome him aboard. He'll be a big asset to us on and off the pitch. He's a great pro, down to earth, and at the age of 28, it's a wonderful time to get to know somebody. It is at the peak of his career. He's already a fit boy who's played over 122 times in the Premier League for Burnley over the last 4 years, and I'm sure he'll be a great addition to the squad.
Welcome back to the Black and White Show with Newcastle Fans TV.
Well, Steve Bruce is very, very happy with the fact that he's managed to get Jeff Hendrick, and he tried to get him at Derby, and so he's been at Burnley the last 4 years, so he'll be absolutely delighted that he's managed to get his man at the end. But again, I think the final question I'll ask you, Sam, this question: if we've got all our players fit, does he get into our starting 11 against West Ham?
No, not if everyone's fit. No. Hayden and Shelvey get the nod. I mean, if everyone's fit and firing, there's an argument for Sean Longstaff or even Matty to be ahead of him as well. But like I said earlier, he's better than Key. He's better than Bentaleb, so it's an improvement. Full international, over 100 games in the Premier League on a free. So I'm not complaining.
Definitely not. Right, let's move on to Newcastle 3, Crewe 0 on Tuesday afternoon. It was like a Tuesday lunchtime, Tuesday afternoon fixture. I think everybody was at work while this game was being penciled in, and I think it was getting played obviously in their camp, York campus or something like that. It was in a very nice place, wherever it was in York. So, Newcastle managed to get a 3-0 win. Goals from Andy Carroll, Christian Atsu and Federico Fernandez gave Newcastle a comfortable win. And obviously, it's just a pre-season game, but Andy Carroll's goal, which we'll show very, very shortly, was fantastic. We'll have to digest that. It was his first goal back from, well, years and years ago, since his final goal against Manchester City on Boxing Day, if you can remember rightly, with that header and towards the Gallagher. So it was a fantastic header. Even though Newcastle got beat 3-1, I can still remember like it was yesterday. It was fantastic. But if I'm looking at the first half team, Adam, Gillespie in goal, Kraft, Lascelles, Clark and Dummett as a four in the back. Jacob Murphy was on the right-hand side. Hayden, Barlaser and ASM and Miggy and Carroll as well. The big questions and the big things that I've been looking and circling is obviously Kieran Clark was back, which is a massive, massive relief because I think he's been exceptional in the last 12. Well, I do you know I don't even think he's had 5 bad games for Newcastle. And when we bought him from Aston Villa, everyone was like, I'm not too sure about him, Adam, but it was good to see him back.
Yeah, he's never let the team down since he come in. Did we sign him the year we went down? Did he?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Yeah, he was crucial that the championship year. He came back in the last couple of years. He never let us down. Just that injury last season, it was a sickener for him, and also he probably would have played most games last season. To be fair, he's just Mr. Reliable, and it's just keeping him fit because he will be a big player this year. You know, we defend for our lives at times, and we need players like him in the team.
Yeah, for sure. When you look into the midfield, Sam, I think this is very fascinating. Jacob Murphy was started on the right-hand side. Dan Barlaser was given his chance to start in the centre midfield, along with Isaac Hayden. I actually think that was a perfect partnership, was Hayden and Barlaser. Hayden, for me, is still the number one man in the centre midfield, and to have Dan Barlaser right next to him, I think it was a perfect combination by Steve Bruce.
Yeah, this is the time where you want to try these things and see what Barlaser's made of. Playing a team that he spent some time on loan at himself. Murphy, Bruce needs to have a proper look at him because with Lazaro going, he's essentially Lazaro's replacement in a kind of weird way. So if we're going to sign another winger, it's going to be Murphy or Atsu that gets the chop. So we've got to have a look at them because one of them two is going to be staying, maybe even both of them. So Murphy had a great stint at Sheff Wed last season, so he's worth giving another chance to in this pre-season. I'm not saying he's brilliant because we haven't seen him in a good light in the black and white. Let's face it. But this is the time where they can prove themselves and try and get in the squad for the season. Otherwise, they're going to be sent out on loan again in the Championship.
Adam, does Jacob Murphy deserve another chance in pre-season? Because when Rafa was in, and look, we can talk about the fact that Rafa's a better manager than Bruce, etc. It doesn't matter. Forget about that for the time being. But in the formation and the strategy that Rafa wanted to play, it was very defensive, and it didn't really suit Jacob Murphy. Bruce would probably be more likely to give Murphy a chance to, show what he's made of going forward and not really worry too much about defensive work. Do you think that Bruce will give Murphy a chance if he hasn't got a lot of money to spend with? And the loan market is very difficult at the best of times because you've got that loan fee anyway.
Yeah, there's no harm in giving him a chance this season, or certainly pre-season. We haven't seen enough of him. When he was here, he was very inconsistent. But he's still only a young lad. I can't think how old he is off the top of my head, but he's still got a lot to prove. How many times, if he's not going to have a future at the club, I've said this a few times about players we have, how many times we're going to loan them out to prove that they're playing in the best league in the world? You just give them a chance. If it's off the bench, you can come and make an impact. Maybe another year in the Championship, but then we need to look at giving him a shot sooner rather than later, or he's just going to be wasted talent and probably going to do well for someone else.
Sam, are you hoping that Dan Barlaser gets the chance to stay in the squad this year? Because he's had a couple of spells out in League One teams. And we know League One's a very, very difficult league to get out of, but he's managed to do that with Rotherham last season. And a lot of League One teams were after him. I think even a couple of Championship teams were linked with Dan Barlaser to try and get on loan again this season. Do you think Bruce will go, I think the lad deserves a chance? Because he's obviously looked likes of Matty Longstaff, Sean Longstaff, get an opportunity throughout the years. Do you think this is a perfect time now for Dan Barlaser?
Yeah, I'm surprised he got given a new contract, to be honest, because normally, was he 23? Normally by that age, your kind of future's set in one way or another. I mean, you look at Sterry, I don't think he's found a new club yet, and he's the same age, not breaking into the first team.
I'm
he's shown
25,
promise. Is he really?
Yeah.
Jesus, he really should have gone before now. There you go. Yeah, Barlaser, he's definitely shown glimpses of promise and he's got real potential. But again, similar to Matty last season, will he get consistent minutes? No, probably not. It's one of them. We're going to have a long, maybe he's hedging his bets a little bit as Steve Bruce, because we're going to have another contract saga this season with Isaac Hayden, who's out of contract at the end of this coming season. So is he just kind of hedging his bets and, well, if I'm going to lose one, I can keep the other sort of thing?
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about Andy Carroll getting that fantastic goal. We'll show the clip or the whole clip of the whole game very, very shortly. But he looks fitter than ever, I have to say, Adam. I know he hasn't really had a proper pre-season. Last year, he was just kind of thrown in and just going, well, can you see what you can do for us? And he got a few assists. I was a bit surprised he got that he managed to get an extra year. But I'm kind of thinking, well, if he can stay fit, get a good pre-season under his belt, because of the fact Dwight Gale's been injured, he needs to try and stay fit and try and get us a few goals. And if there's more goals like that, I know it was against Crewe, League One Crewe, but it's still a fantastic goal.
Yeah, a fully fit Andy Carroll, as we've seen his first spell with us, as he showed at times at West Ham, can cause problems for any team. His issue's always been his fitness. Last season, if he's apparently on a pay-as-you player, which is what he's worth at the minute, unfortunately. But if he can get fully fit and get a good run of games, he will cause problems and score goals. He's an absolute. I can imagine him being an absolute nightmare to play against. But again, are we going to get more than 15 games out of him? Probably not. So just a shame for him, really.
Yeah, hopefully he can stay fit. I think that probably more than anything, if we can do that, then it'll be absolutely brilliant. If you can give this video a like, that would be very, very nice for you on this Friday evening. And also if you can subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV, it just helps us in the long run. Hopefully you can get more interviews with the Greenwood and Milner show would be good as well. We just finished series 1, so that's just a little plug out. It's on all podcasts as well. If you want to go on Apple or Spotify, then the Greenwood and Milner podcast is available for you to enjoy. The videos, if you want to watch them live or as they were live, are also on YouTube as well. All right, let's get the clip of the game from Newcastle versus Crewe and just watch for Andy Carroll scoring a worldie and also Christian Atsu scored. Simon, whenever you're ready.
You're watching the Black and White Show with Newcastle Fans TV.
On the 39th minute, man, Jamal Lascelles pings the ball into the chest of Andy Carroll. He chests it, he heads it, he flicks it, and then he does like a sliding, like falling volley, and it trickles into the bottom corner. It's a fantastic finish. What a finish by Andy Carroll. Hopefully we can see him score his first professional goal, because obviously this doesn't count. Shelvey and Gale's link up was brilliant, and it has been brilliant since those two combined coming out of lockdown. Shelvey picks out Gale's running. Gale is absolutely fantastic. Gale has this other on top of what Mutu can't do, what Carroll can't do, what Joe Layton can't do. Gale's got brilliant movement. And then the third goal came when that man Barleza's corner came in. Federico Fernandez, power header, great header. Crew kind of day now, so it's 3-0 up. But this is reaction from Steve Bruce, Andy Carroll and Federico Fernandez.
The disappointing thing is Dwight picked up a knock. We hope that's not too serious, but overall, it's put an end to a really decent 5 or 6 days. It's strange this year. We've got 3 games next week, and leading up to obviously the first game of the season. But first one, very, very pleased for Dan. You know, we always wanted to say we wanted to have a look at him, and he's had a really good time at Rotherham last year. So yeah, it's given me another good look at him. So, and he did okay.
We were trying to pass it forward. It was probably the first in the game where we've hit a diagonal, and Jams put it up to my chest and controlled it and got a shot on target, and it's went in. So I was delighted, and obviously it was to get the team off the mark to get the win. But, you know, it's obviously the first week of training. It's nice to get a goal. It's nice to get a win and a run out, obviously. So we'll just continue working hard as a team, and hopefully there's many more wins and goals to come.
You know, we started to play games. That's always important. We don't have much time to prepare, so it's important to get fit quickly. Important to be with the ball well. And today we show good football, so we need to keep working, focusing the next couple of friendly.
Broadcasting live across YouTube and across Newcastle Fans TV's social media, this is The Black and White Show.
Yeah, and all that footage was courtesy of NUFC TV, so a big thanks to them. As Lee's mentioned in the comment, there is a video on NFTV Extra tonight, which is going to be a vlog about local football, because football is back, sort of. That you can actually go and watch. Dunstan versus Blythe. Lee's made the trip to Blythe. I think it's at Dunstan, isn't it?
Dunstan.
Yeah, it's at Dunstan tonight. So it's a 2-0 Blythe currently at the minute. If there's any Blythe Spartans fans out there, your team is winning this friendly, so a big well done to them so far. Bassman 2008 Newcastle Fans TV with a big love heart. Well, Friday night Newcastle Fans TV, even better. Popcorn, KFC, chicken. I don't like that. Thoughts on Rolando Aarons? Thoughts on Rolando Aarons, Adam? Do you think he's got a future?
Not now. I remember when Pardew was here when we beat Man City in the Cup a few years ago, and he scored. Did he score the first goal? I was there, and you think this lad's going to go and do stuff, and then he just stopped. He just didn't. Yeah,
definitely.
And then he just stopped. Never seemed to get any more game time. Went on loan to Wickham, maybe a couple of other clubs. Never set the world out. I don't know. When he first came, he'd seen this flair player was going to set the world out, but it's never worked out for him. And I think he's at the stage of his career now. He just needs to move on.
Yeah, I think it'd be best for all parties if Rolando Aarons to find another club, and I don't think he's going to get into Newcastle's squad. Never mind the first 11 at the best of times, shall we say? Just the last couple of things, just on the Newcastle versus Crew game. Saive, Matty Longstaff, and John Joe Shelby are in the midfield as a midfield three. 3 names I didn't even think I'd probably say 18 months ago as the 3 in midfield for Newcastle in the game, but they all played. Saive is an interesting one. I think it's just a case of finding him a club but keeping him fit, so he was always going to get minutes. Atsu, Gale and Sean Longstaff, you've obviously seen Atsu's goal. There's that Atsu and Murphy debate, Sam. Who do you think's probably got the better chance of keeping a place in this squad? Do you think Atsu, just because he was given that probably chance at the end of last season?
Possibly, but then he could have moved on last January, couldn't he? It used to be the Atsu Aarons. Yeah, it used to be the Atsu Aarons debate, didn't it? But I mean, Aarons has been transfer listed, so he is on the way out. I'd be tempted to go with Murphy, you know.
Just because of his attacking threat?
Yeah, because Atsu's not going to come on and change a game, is he? Murphy...
Did against Crewe.
Yeah, League One, that's his level. So Murphy, solid season in the Championship, minutes under his belt, bit more pacey, bit more threatening. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be starting him in a month of Sundays, but look, this is what we've got to, you know, cope with this season. So it's the best of a bad bunch, but I'd probably be inclined to go with Murphy over Atsu.
Yeah, that's interesting. Sam prefers Murphy over Atsu. Get your comments in as well if you agree with Sam, or if you disagree. Tell us why you think Atsu should be given more of a chance to keep his place in the Newcastle squad for the 2020-21 season. Adam, let's talk about injuries. I'm Ronaldo says we try and get Shane Long from Southampton. I don't know if he's going to leave Southampton for us. I think he just signed a new deal not long ago, so it would cost a lot of money. And I don't think he'll give you enough goals. He might help out, but I don't know about the goals return for Shane Long. But Adam, big news. We'll touch about Dwight Gale on the second part, the fact that he's injured, but Martin Dubravka's out for potentially up to 8 weeks, according to the Slovakian FA. It was announced by the club just yesterday that's a heel injury. That's going to keep Martin Dubravka out for probably the first 3 games minimum of the season, maybe even probably the first 4. He might be able to come back after the international break against Manchester United at St James's Park. Maybe fans might get to see the return of Martin Dubravka as well. But a bit of a blow for Newcastle, but well, a big blow really. He was the player of the year last year, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's so reliable. We have Carl Darlow, who I'm a fan of. I don't think Darlow's ever really let us down, but Dubravka's just got that bit extra. He's better at shot stopping. He's better at commanding his box. He comes out for balls more. And this is Dubravka's second injury really in a short period. If you remember, just before the break, he was out for 2 months then, and now this is another injury, 2 months. It's concerning. One thing you need in a long season, which we're going to have, especially if we're fighting relegation, is a consistent number one. If you start chopping and changing your goalkeepers, or he's coming back in, then he's injured again, it disrupts the back 4. You need a consistent number one for the season. So it's a shame. I've got no doubt he'll come back in as soon as he's fit, and hopefully it's just a one-off. But again, he still gets his critics from somewhere, Dubravka. But he's so important to that team. He does get us points every season.
Yeah, of course. And Carl Dar, I think, can do a job potentially for 3 games. Obviously, West Ham away, Brighton home, Spurs away are the first 3 games this season. You can almost maybe say the Burnley game at St James's is another game where you go, well, I don't think he's going to be playing that one either. So Darlow looks like he'll probably get the nod for that game. Joe Linton, he's been missing. He's been missing for over a year since he's been at the club, if I'm being brutally honest. He had that moment against Tottenham last year, which was just over a year ago. But he seems to be, I think he's been in isolation. I don't think he's got the virus, but I think it's more the fact that he's come from a different country and you've got a quarantine for 14 days. Actually, me and Sal had a bit of an idea of a TV show or a radio show potentially of Quarantine. If that could have kicked off, that might have been interesting. But
lovely stuff. You need to get that patented before Sky steal it.
Yeah, can you imagine? So while Joe Linton is in quarantine, shall we say, hopefully that he can get some minutes before the start of the season as well, because we need to see if he can get any better from last year. Like I personally would, I wasn't in the keep Sell alone video, but I would have got rid of Joe Linton if there was a chance of getting rid of him this year. I really would have. I don't think he's good enough for the Premier League. I don't think he's good enough for Newcastle.
You wouldn't get anything for him.
Would you take 10 million?
I'd want some sell-on clauses. I'd want some sell-on clauses. But if you think Brentford are just paying 10 million for Ivan Toney,
would you take 10 million, Adam, for Joe Linton right now? Somebody offered you?
If it went to buy and someone who can score goals, then yeah. But I think if I don't think we'll get rid of him this summer. But if it is, it'll be a typical. We'll loan him out, see how he does at another club, and then you get a fee from him. I'm the same as you, Johnny. I don't think he's going to do anything again this season. He needed a good pre-season. I think he's got personal reasons why he's not in the camp, whatever. But you just, as a Newcastle fan, you sigh when you see him come on, or you see him just, it's too predictable. I don't know. He's not good enough for the Premier League at all.
He's not your cup of tea, Sam, is he?
No, I'm on Lemsip now, if you must know. But no, you do, as Adam says, you do have these players that you just sigh when you see them warming up and when you see them come on. And Joe Linton is that when he comes on. He's more effective from the start because he will kind of put in a shift to an extent, whereas he can't come on and change the game because he's not got masses of pace. He doesn't hold the ball up as well as he should. The first half of this season is going to be sink or swim for him because he's had that season now to bed in, so he knows what to expect from the Premier League. It is very much sink or swim time because there is a player in there somewhere, just not a number 9.
Exactly. Get your comments in below if you think that if you were to offer £10 million for Joe Linton, would you sell him to that club for £10 million? Paul says, with Gale out, we can't surely just rely on Joe Linton this season. What's going to happen? Well, that's a fantastic debate that we're going to have straight after this break, because that's what we're going to be talking about. Talking about strikers, because Dwight Gale is out for months, 2 to 3 months to be precise, according to Newcastle United. Well, who will Newcastle spend about £30 million on? That's their rumoured fee for a potential striker. We'll be discussing with Adam and Sam who we think that Newcastle realistically can get, and it's not Lionel Messi, unfortunately. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
The Black and White Show will be with you after this short break. See you in a few minutes.
Today, we're going to talk about Amazon. We have our very own Amazon store in which you can find pretty much anything to do with Newcastle United. From shirts to pencil cases to anything you want. Lee, what have you bought from our Amazon store?
Oh, I love a good pencil case and duvet, don't I? As that's been around the internet before. No, I've got a lot of stuff, not just Newcastle stuff. I've also got a lot of tech stuff that we use, like cameras and mics from Amazon. So they do a lot of stuff on our Amazon store. But I'll probably say that my favourite is the shirts, because we do a lot more range. But you can get anything. You can get literally anything from a pen to a bottle of vodka to bed sheets, you name it. Amazon has it all.
Yeah, Amazon is great for its range of products, and the best part is that we aren't giving anything to Mike Ashley and Sports Direct. Nothing Sports Direct related on that store. Sam, how brilliant is that?
Purchasing Newcastle memorabilia 100% guilt-free.
Mm-hmm.
That man is not receiving any of your money for your purchases on our Amazon store. I myself love the memorabilia section. I don't know about you boys, but classic shirts from years gone by, signed photos of Newcastle legends, Alan Shearer, Shay Given, Les Ferdinand. They're all on here, all on our Amazon store. It's a cracking find.
That's just reminded me, Sam, because I actually like car accessories as well. So I've got a lot of fresheners in my car, which are Newcastle United. Literally, my car is kitted out.
Don't tell me you can get a Newcastle United car air freshener from our Amazon store.
You're not
yes, you can.
Several, Sam. There's loads there. So if you want your car looking nice, you're supporting Newcastle United. Just be careful where you park your car. But apart from that, it's fantastic. Get all them accessories.
Yeah, so fantastic. If you want anything, pretty much anything Newcastle United related, check out our Amazon store. Link will be in the description below. Go have yourself a gander and you might find yourself a good bargain.
Welcome back to the Black and White Show with Newcastle Fans TV.
Yes, have a look at that Amazon page for Newcastle Fans TV. My book is in the way. It's got all my notes in, so I do apologise for that. That is interesting to say the least, as Adam's just sorting his camera out. Sam, I'll let you answer the first question in regards to our striking options. I'm going to start with the Brentford striker, Ollie Watkins, because I was very impressed with him last season. He was the Championship Player of the Season. That was just announced through the week, and as you can see with these stats there, 26 goals in all competitions this season. I think Mitrovic was only, with 1 goal ahead of him last season. Obviously, he is a Premier League striker, just never worked for him at Newcastle. But at 5'11", he's a good. I think he's a good height for a striker in the Premier League. Would he be a very good option for Newcastle, considering he's 24? He done his trade in the Championship and League One with Brentford. Do you think that he could, make that big stage his own in the Premier League?
Possibly. It's always a risk buying from the Championship. I mean, look at Dwight Gale, prolific in the Championship, but can't quite cut it regularly in the Premier League. And Gale's not the only one that's been playing before him, and there'll be plenty after him. Watkins is a good age. He's English, which all stacks up to that he's going to cost way too much money for what he's worth. So there's plenty of teams sniffing around Ollie Watkins, and rightly so. But I just can't see this one happening personally. I don't think all of his kind of attributes would point towards us being outpriced. I think he could probably end up at someone like Villa, who are going to unfortunately splash the cash again this summer, which is going to be gut-wrenching to watch. But I reckon he could go for north of 30 million.
See, I didn't think it would be that high. I thought 30 would probably be the highest. I thought it was going to be somewhere around 25 to 30, considering that Brentford are probably in a position that they've just got a new ground. They can't really go really extravagant because of COVID, Adam. Do you think
they've already replaced him as well with Ivan Toney, haven't they?
Yeah, that was literally the perfect question, Adam, because they've just spent £10 million on Ivan Toney. Have they gone, do you know what? We know we're going to lose Ollie Watkins. Shall we just spend the money now, just so we have that replacement already there?
Yeah, I think there's Sam. I completely agree with Sam. I think we're going to get outbid from even if we try. I think someone like him scores in the Championship, you're looking 20-25 million. But with the English again, you're talking it could be 30-35. That's how Championship players are going now, and that's why we're getting left behind by so many clubs.
Yeah, it's. I think it's just depressing saying that, isn't it? Really, but I think he is a player that, with obviously there was Ben Rama and Brembro, who they're the BMW, as they called it, at Brentford, and it just worked perfectly in the Championship. It was just a shame that they just missed out promotion, obviously losing to Fulham in the playoff final, which none of their big players really turned up that day, and obviously Fulham just managed to do a job at Wembley in front of an empty Wembley, which was only a few weeks ago now, which is hard to believe anyway. But I think Ollie Watkins, I think Villa are the favourites, Sam, with the betting, if I'm right. Again, around about 25 to 30 million pounds. Do you think someone in the Premier League will take a chance on him, maybe like a Villa, or do you think Newcastle would go there if the price was acceptable?
I think it's one that Newcastle would be keeping tabs on for sure, because they need a striker. He's a striker, and he can score goals. Boxes are being ticked, but it's one of them ones where everyone else is going to offer 30 million, and we're going to put in an offer of 8, rising to 10. Probably something like that, a Lee Charney special. But I'd be amazed if he doesn't end up somewhere like Villa or Everton, somewhere like that.
Possibly. Patrick Schick, I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I'll go with it. But obviously the Roma forward, as you can see, he's done really well for this season. Of course, he's had a fantastic season. Has Patrick Schick. For me, while he's going on, he's playing at Roma, there are strong reports, and I should mention this before we talk about him, that he could potentially be going to Bayer Leverkusen when the Kai Havertz deal to Chelsea is confirmed. Now, obviously, when you're talking about these sort of players, Adam, because they're European and they've done pretty well, 11 goals and 2 assists, but he seems to be a player that a lot of clubs are keeping an eye on, because he obviously 24 as well. He's the perfect age, especially in the Premier League. It's a good age where you're going to probably pay a little bit of a little amount of money, or not as much as you would have had to pay because of COVID, for example, but then potentially get a sell-on value for, let's just say, a bigger club, maybe a Premier League club like a Man United or whatever, to get probably the peak years of a player like Schick. Would he be a player that you would go, he's my number one choice, or do you think I would rather go for someone that's a bit more, maybe more of a safer bet?
We need someone who's going to get us goals, and this lad will get us goals. But the thing is, as you say, he's going to have a lot of interest from different teams, and this is where you need a manager or a director of football who can go to him and his agent and sell Newcastle United. This is why we want you to come to the club. This is what you'll get from it. Someone like him, and
Are you
suggesting
we get Joe Kinnear back?
Yeah, yeah. Get someone to mispronounce his name, and he'll be straight here. But if you can sell Newcastle United to a player like him, I know maybe not a lot of fans have seen much of him. He's the type of player. If it went right for him in Newcastle, he would get with cult status. He is a good player, but he's going to look at Newcastle on the outside, top 15 Premier League, no ambition. Steve Bruce is manager, and that's the unfortunate thing. It might sound a bit negative, but someone like his caliber, I hope I'm stood here in a couple of weeks and I'm proved wrong, but I just can't see him looking at Newcastle and going, yeah, that's a blueprint for me in my point of my career, because he is someone who will want to win trophies and play Champions League football. So, unfortunately, I think it's another one. Our lack of ambition is going to cost us.
So we'll be in the Champions League next season. We'll get somebody better. We'll see how we get on with that one. Callum Wilson, he's probably either 1 or 2 on my list. I'll tell you who my other 1 or 2 on my list is a little bit later, Sam. But Callum Wilson, we all know about Callum Wilson. English international. He's had a couple of fantastic seasons for Bournemouth. Obviously, they got relegated towards the back end of the season. But every time he plays, you are a little bit worried when you're up against him when you were playing against Bournemouth. 12 goals last season in the Premier League, which is not bad at all for a relegated team last year. For me, he is a threat, and he reminds me a little bit of Rondon. I think if you play him up front on his own, I think he'd be fine. I think he could cope. He is a little bit older. He is 28, but he's probably at his peak years. Now, if they're just giving a 4-year deal to Jeff Hendrick, Sam, surely you could try and sell Newcastle United and go, right, look, this is probably one of your last big money moves. You would still be playing Premier League football. You're playing for a bigger club than Bournemouth. No disrespect to them. You can become an absolute hero up in the North East. Is that how you try and sell a Callum Wilson to come to Newcastle?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with all what you've said there, bar one. He ain't Rondon. He ain't Rondon.
Do you not think he could be similar to what Rondon does?
No, he's not big enough. Not big enough, not strong enough. But don't get me wrong, very, very good player. And this one should be one of these ones that's a no-brainer. Go and get him. Everything is pointing in the direction that he should be leaving Bournemouth. He needs to keep his international aspirations alive. I know Southgate doesn't like picking Newcastle players, but when you've already got one foot in the squad as it is, you need to get that moved, because otherwise you're going to lose your place to Danny Ings or whoever. It's just a no-brainer. 28 is a fine age. It's fine, as you said there. 4-year deal takes you to 32, just past your peak. Then you can take the option of an extra year or 2. Just go and get him. Go and get him. 20 million, which I think is the asking price. The sticking point will be wages, because I know he's on a hefty chunk at Bournemouth. But they need to be getting rid of players, otherwise they're going to struggle financially. Because I think they were offering stupid contracts out towards the end, the likes of Solanke and Fraser, who's another one we should be looking at, really. That way we can get rid of Atsu and or Murphy. Ooh, imagine that. But yeah, Callum Wilson should just be one of these ones. Absolute no-brainer. Go and get him. Simple as that.
The stumbling point is always his wages with these sort of players, because obviously an English player, Adam, it's going to you have that just premium price because of who they are. I think he's currently on around between £75,000 and £80,000 a week at Bournemouth. He's not going to get that at Newcastle.
Nope.
But what he would be guaranteed, though, Adam, he'd be guaranteed games, because he would be first choice. I think Andy Carroll knows he's not going to be first choice for Newcastle unless it's under exceptional circumstances. Is he your number 1 pick, or is it somebody else in the pecking order for you?
I think we can afford Callum Wilson. I think we can afford to go and pay a transfer fee for him. The lads would prefer to go and get probably out of our price range. But Callum Wilson, you could look at the team. He lost Saint-Maximin, Almiron playing behind him. They've missed having someone to go and get the goals. Callum Wilson will get goals. Absolutely no doubt about it. He'll get goals in the Premier League. But it's one of these ones, as Sam mentioned before, we know what we're like, we know what Charlie and Ashley like. They will bid as low as they can, and we've got the potential to move to miss out on him. if we don't move quick for Callum Wilson, the season starts in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
2 weeks tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to miss out on him. We need a centre forward. Everyone knows that. We could mess around, try and go and get people from Germany who, like Jolinton, who got the odd goal in Germany. Callum Wilson will score goals in the Premier League. Or Josh King's there for us as well. So I think we need to make a priority getting a centre forward in the next week, so they can fit in with the team and get some minutes under the belt.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Josh King. I have to be honest. I don't think he's good enough. I don't know why.
No, I'm not either.
I don't know what people say him. I think he does a lot of hard work, but if you're wanting someone to get you goals, he's not the man in my opinion. But I don't know. I'm not an expert in watching Josh King. I watch him a few times a season, but that's about it. But that's another argument for a different day. This is probably another one. Callum Wilson probably just edges out. Callum Wilson is my number one choice if I could choose a striker realistically for Newcastle. But another one who's very, very close is Odsonne Edouard from Celtic. I really do rate this guy a lot. Now I know he's playing for Celtic, and I know it's a league where it's either Celtic or Rangers that win the league. But I have watched a lot of Celtic in the last couple of years. For me, he is just an absolute handful. And I know you probably best to judge him in either the games against Rangers and the Europa League games that he's played in. And he's always been somebody difficult to handle. And he's, again, another player that doesn't mind being up front on his own. It is a gamble. Sam. You're probably looking at around about £30 million to prize him away from Celtic because they think they rate him very, very highly. And they've had strikers like Moussa Dembele at Celtic, and they've got big money for him in the past. He is a player that I would say potentially could be better than Dembele if he was given a chance at a Premier League club. Probably a big bit of a shout because Dembele's done well at Lyon. What do you make of him? Do you like him? Do you think he could do a job in the Premier League? But is £30 million too much of a gamble?
Yes, and no. Yes, I like him. Yes, he'd do a job in the Premier League. And no, I don't think 30 million is too much of a gamble for a striker like that. I think that's perfectly reasonable, to be honest. Good age, strapping lad, knows where the goal is. Everything's there for him to be a real striker of great potential. This is one of the ones that, again, back in the day, we'd have just gone and got him ages ago. So, and, not a bother. Now, there's so many teams sniffing around this lad, and rightly so, because, as I mentioned before, 30 million for a striker that could get you into double figures nowadays, that's fair enough. That's going rate. That's below going rate. It's a seller's market as well at the minute. So if they wanted to hang on to him, obviously Celtic aren't going to be playing Champions League football this season, losing to Ferencvaros, who we beat.
We beat them once upon a time ago.
We did 3-2 down after the first leg, though. We were terrible second half that day, and then I watched the second leg from a hospital bed when I was 7 years old, and we beat them 4-0. I digress. But Edouard is probably, in an ideal world, we'd be getting Messi and we would have been taken over. But you know what I mean. In a realistic ideal world, then this is the lad you'd probably get. I mean, we need two, let's face it, but we're only going to get one. Edouard would have a sell-on value as well, if that's the way you want to play it. But he's all the hallmarks to be a cracking player in the future. Well, and now.
Some Newcastle fans, when you talk to people about Edouard, they're worried that the fact that he's just played in the Scottish League. I know the Scottish League's not the best. You probably say that the likes of Celtic, Rangers, you could probably throw Aberdeen to an extent, are like mid-table championship teams at very, very best. Adam, are you worried that because he hasn't played against Premier League teams, really, or hasn't played against a lot of good teams, that he couldn't replicate the certain amount of goals that he could do at Celtic, or even just try and get enough for what Newcastle would want?
I think fans are like me. They still get shivers up the spine when you think of We Signed Jolan and Boom song from Rangers. And I know times have changed a lot since then, but the Scottish Premier League does have this stigma that the quality isn't very good. You go and bang the goals in that league and come to the Premier League and be very average. But I do agree with you, lads. We need a goal scorer. And if we have to pay that for someone who's going to get goals, which I think he will, we have to pay it. Celtic, if it's the SPL, if it's considered, the Championship, he's still going to go and get goals in a league like that. And considering we're probably going to be fighting relegation, someone like him, I think, would just fit into the team.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a couple more players on my list, and then I'll get you lads' opinions on who you think Newcastle should spend the money on. Troy Deeney is the next person on my list. Now, he's been very, very loyal to Watford, and he's done exceptionally well for Watford. Now, West Brom have been heavily linked with him in the last couple of hours. Sky reporting that he is West Brom's main target. He is Premier League proven, in my opinion. I don't think he's Premier League proven. Age is just not on his side. Do you think maybe a loan deal, if you're going to do a deal with Watford for Troy Deeney? Adam?
Not for me. No. Big lads, I've just never liked him. I've never liked him as a person. He can be a pain to play against. I just don't think he would fit in at Newcastle with the fans. I don't think he spoke about the club in great terms in the past. So I just don't think he's one we should consider.
Sam, do you agree?
I do. I actually like him as a person, to be honest. But I don't think he's a Newcastle player at all. To be honest, he doesn't do much for me.
Is he not a bit like Rondon?
He can't even lace Rondon's boots, man.
See, I thought there'd be a bit more positivity going towards Troy Deeney. In my opinion, I wouldn't be too bothered if we got him, but I don't think he's the type of player that Newcastle will go for in the sense of 32. Watford would probably want good money for him as well, and I wouldn't want to pay that much money for
all of this, though, doesn't it make you appreciate just how freaking good Rondon was?
Oh, well, yeah, we miss him dearly, and I know a former, obviously, Newcastle Fan TV regular enjoyed him a hell of a lot, and I totally agree with him as well. So, yeah, I think he was a real big fan favourite. I'm going to throw another one out there. More likely going to be a loan than buy. I don't think this club would buy or let someone buy this player off him. Tammy Abraham. Young, played Premier League football, but if you look at the pecking order, he's got Pulisic, Werner, Giroud. Is he getting game time there? Do you think it'd be a bit of a sensible one for Bruce to just go, Frank, any chance you could give him for the season? Just so we can have someone that's a bit Premier League proven. I think it'd be a bit of a coup. But I don't know what you think about that one, Sam. I'll ask you first on Tammy Abraham.
I'm not against it. I wouldn't go far as to say he's Premier League proven. I know he had a good little stint at the start of last season with Chelsea, but he was getting the service, wasn't he? He struggled to keep his place, and he lost his place to Giroud, who we were trying to get on loan last January. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be against it, so long as we were playing 4-2-3-1. Because if we were going to play, him on top on his own trying to hold the ball up, it ain't happening. It's not a bad option. You're right, we wouldn't buy him because he'd cost far, far too much. But a loan for a season is to kind of put a plaster on a gaping wound, then that could work.
Where do you stand on that one, Alan?
Yeah, I think it'd be a good move for both clubs and for him, for Chelsea to get him Premier League game time. We need someone who can, score goals. He's quite energetic. But would he move up the North East? Probably not. He's that type of player. I think if he's going to go up on loan.
It's another one that, again, needs game time so he can push into that England squad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think it's a fantastic point, really. I think, especially with the fact that the Euros is now next year, and then you've got a World Cup on top of that. It's 2 competitions within about 18 months. It's a big, big time for any player that wants to be playing international football, because there's some big, big tournaments coming up, shall we say. Right, I'm gonna say, give us your 3 in order. If you had the money, £30 million, 35. Messi free for being stupid, says Kenny. I don't think we could afford his weekly wage for about 2. I think we'd probably last about 2 weeks, and then we'd probably be bust if we go with Lionel Messi. But if go from 3 to 1 in terms of priority, in terms of who you'd like to see in a Newcastle shirt and against West Ham in 2 weeks' time, out of all the options that we've mentioned, Adam, I'll let you go first. From 3 to 1, who would you like to see Newcastle try and go for?
I like your point before about Tammy Abraham. I think he'd be a good one. Number 3, I think he'd come in and I think the fans would take him. Number 2, Callum Wilson. Again, I've said it a few. We need someone who can come and score goals this season, and not just 5 or 6 goals. I think I was centre forwards with 6 or 7 between them last season. We need someone who's going to come and get 15 or 20. And my number 1 choice, I think he's class. There's a lad at Wolfsburg. I struggle to see his name, but Weghorst. Well, Weghorst, he's I think 3rd or 4th top goal scorer in Germany. He'll score goals for fun in the Premier League, and someone will come and get him. But again, he's going to cost probably about 40 million. Sorry.
That's some fantastic stats there. Played 32 games and 16 goals there as well, so it's a good return.
He's a great player. I think he's been linked with Arsenal. But again, he's someone who, if he came to Newcastle and it went right for him, he'd be worshipped by the fans. I think all 3 of mine have got to be centre forwards.
More than that, Gnabry, who's obviously just won the Champions League with Bayern Munich, and more than Kai Havertz with Bayer Leverkusen. I know they play slightly different positions, and obviously they are wingers, but still, it's good to see that he's scored more than them this season. And only you look at the 3 that are in front of him. Sancho obviously had a fantastic season for Dortmund last year. Big possibility that he could be a Manchester United player for about £100 million, which is being rumoured. And then you've got Werner, who's off to Chelsea, and Lewandowski. Is he the best player in the world right now on current form? I think there's a good argument that he might be. I think there's obviously the likes of De Bruyne who will probably have a bit of a conversation in that one, but 34 goals in 31 games, that's absolutely ridiculous from Lewandowski. Sam, who's your top 3?
We're just having a look at these ones in Liga, and obviously Icardi was linked if we were getting taken over. Niang at the bottom there, he was at Watford briefly, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
My top 3, I mean, that lad there at number 4 for Lille, that Victor, I'll call him Victor. He would have been my number 1 choice should the takeover had gone through, but times is hard. My top 3. I mean, I'm struggling to pick 3. Number 3, to be honest. So it's Wilson or Edouard, isn't it? Let's face it. It's got to be. You've done some detail to there to kind of sway me to put Abraham in 3rd as a loan deal, but there is some absolute dross out there as well. Let's face it. I mean, you can have Danny Welbeck for $5.5 million if you want another injury-prone striker. Jeez. Yeah, I'd. What's that expression you used the other day, Johnny? Yeah.
Oh, you like that one, didn't you?
I do. I've used that a lot since. But I Chris Wood is one because he would suit. He's the one like your Rondon. He's as close as Rondon as you're going to get in terms of how strong he is and how much he can hold the ball up. Obviously not. He's not good as Rondon, obviously, but he's the as Kenny says, it's the little list, isn't it? So I'd probably stick Chris Wood in there at number 3. It's so uninspiring, but Edouard would be the most to get. Edouard, if we were to sign Edouard, that is one to genuinely get reasonably excited about.
Is Edouard number 1?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm surprised at that. I thought Edouard would just be number 2, but it's fascinating. My top 3 for people that want to know. My 3rd would be Tammy Abraham. Ollie Watkins for me. I know I should really put Ollie Watkins at number 3, but I'm going to go Tammy Abraham just because he has played Premier League football, and I think he's more of a safe bet, as we've mentioned before. I think he's more realistic, if I'm being brutally honest. I think Braithwaite, not for me personally. I don't know about the lads on Braithwaite, but not for me personally. I think right, I'd go Tammy Abraham 3rd. Loan fee might be a couple of £1 million. Ollie Watkins, you're probably looking 25 million for a player that's never played in the Premier League. I know you've got to give these players a chance, but Newcastle aren't going to give these players a chance. They need to be a Premier League team season after season. So I don't see that happening anytime soon. 2nd place for me would be Edouard. I'm a big fan of Edouard. I really am. And I agree with Sam. I'd be very excited Newcastle could get that one over the line. Be probably paying around about £30 million for him. I don't know. I don't know if Newcastle would go to 30 million for Edouard. But again, if he has a fantastic season or a fantastic 18 months, your big boys will be knocking on the door for him because he will be a player in demand. But for me, Callum Wilson is my number one pick. And the reason why, Premier League proven, he's been injury-free for 2 years. He can play a lone striker up front. I think he would benefit of an ASM. I think he'd benefit with a Shelby as well. I think he could link up well with him, similarly to what Dwight Gale has with John Joe Shelby. I think it would be the perfect move. If there is a perfect move, I think Callum Wilson would be one that Newcastle should seriously consider. Again, the stumbling block is the wages. Will Newcastle go somewhere in the region of what he's on at Bournemouth? I think they might have. I think the hand might be forced into doing that because 2 weeks from now, Newcastle will be playing West Ham. Well, 2 weeks tomorrow they'll be playing West Ham, and at the minute you're thinking the West Ham old boy Andy Carroll will be starting up front for Newcastle because Dwight Gale's out till probably October, early November, which is going to be a big disappointment to say the least. But that's who I would go with. I would go with Callum Wilson. But I've seen a few comments throughout the last couple of minutes saying everyone's got their different opinions on it. So the next couple of weeks are going to be crucial and going to be vital. But that's our opinion of the last half an hour. Adam's going with the guy in Germany from Wolfsburg. Sam's just about gone with Edouard from Celtic. And I've gone with Wilson from Bournemouth.
I did do a Twitter poll earlier today.
Yes, you did.
Johnny.
Yes, you did.
So, Edouard, 47% of the vote. Callum Wilson, 39%. Schick, 11%. And then some comments for the rest. Watkins was mentioned. Anyone but Deeney. And Hosselu, banter. And Messi would be decent. I'd go along with that. He'd do okay, wouldn't he? But yeah, Edouard seems to get the nod.
Yeah, Edouard, Odson Edouard from Celtic is the most popular name on the Newcastle Fans TV Twitter poll. Give Newcastle Fans TV a follow on Twitter if you haven't done so already. Some good stuff there. Could we sign Andre Gray when he was 29? Would he make it would make him a player potentially? I think that was what I said there. Florian Wirtz, only 17, great youngster for Leverkusen as well. Another name that's been mentioned by Bassman 2008. So obviously a variety of opinions in regards to potential new striker for Newcastle, and it does seem that is where they're going to spend the bulk of their budget for this summer transfer window. But this is where I think we'll end the show. It's been a fantastic Black and White show. Adam, enjoy your debut on the Black and White show.
Yeah, spot on, brilliant.
Yeah, it's not too bad, you know. We're not too bad. Me and Sam, we do okay every now and then. But again,
we should have our own show, John.
I know, we shouldn't we? NFTV Extra tonight will have a video. It'll be Dunstan versus Blythe, just a little bit of local football, just to receive Lee's reaction to the fact that he's been allowed to go and watch live football after obviously the pandemic. Hopefully, it won't be long until we'll all get to see Newcastle play at St James's Park. You imagine maybe the Man United game is a possibility, maybe Burnley. It just depends on the next couple of weeks and what the government say, but hopefully we'll be able to get your reaction to all your football. And it's a big week again on Newcastle Fans TV. We've got games against the Borough in the Tyne Tees Derby on the 1st of September. We've also got Stoke on the 5th of September as well. So there's a couple of games. I think there's one that I've missed out as well. Barnsley tomorrow. Barnsley, yeah. Would never want to go to Barnsley ever again. I've been there once and never going back. So Barnsley as well tomorrow. So we'll have all the reaction with a last word from Lee over the weekend, and then Middlesbrough on Tuesday and Stoke next Saturday. So yeah, that is the end of the show. If you can give this video a like, subscribe to Newcastle Fans TV, and you get all the reaction with the game tomorrow from us and Lee in particular tomorrow night. So it's a big well done, and a thank you to everybody involved, and we'll see you all very, very soon.